Joining me now, Karen Bass, Democratic Congresswoman from California and member of House Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees. Always good to have you on the broadcast. Let's get right to it here. As you said on Friday, that the administration's foreign policy was not clear. After hearing now both Rex Tillerson and Nikki Haley offer some guidelines on Syria, does that change your thinking at all?
No, I don't think it does at all. It's not really clear to me what the overall strategy is for Syria, but then beyond that, it's not clear how this president plans to approach foreign policy. So you have him being moved by the attacks on the Syrian children, and then you have him saying that those same children are not allowed to come to the United States. He releases a budget that cuts the State Department by 30%. You know, at the same time as the crisis is going on in Syria, we also have what the UN has declared potentially the worst humanitarian crisis since the UN was formed in 1945, and that's famine across three African countries and Yemen. 20 million people potentially at risk of starvation. You can't just take foreign policy a piece at a time. What is his overall strategy? What is his approach? What is going to come next? Why did he wait until all of us were leaving D.C., at least in the House, to do the bombing? Why didn't he bring us in? We need an AUMF, authorized use of military force. Congress needs to debate this issue.
What about your colleague and the ranking Intel member, Congressman Adam Schiff, who was saying today that there's a stronger moral case to be made for a strike this time against Syria than there was back in 2013 with President Obama? Do you agree?
Well, again, I have a hard time with that, because what was bombed? I mean, we bombed an airport, and 48 hours later, that same airport was back bombing the same area that was victim to the chemical weapons. So I don't understand what the point. I understand sending a message, but what does that mean a day later? To me, I think it has the potential to embolden everybody, to embolden the Syrians, to embolden the Russians, and then to embolden the North Koreans. So now we're sending a message to North Korea. All of these messages, what is the policy? What is the strategy? What is the approach of this president?
We have a letter to Congress in which now the president spoke about this, and you have Secretary of State Rex Tillerson saying that the nation's administration's main priority is the defeat of ISIS. Let's hear his point.
Sure.
And once the ISIS threat has been reduced or eliminated, I think we can turn our attention directly to stabilizing the situation in Syria. We're hopeful that we can prevent a continuation of the civil war, and that we can bring the parties to the table to begin the process of political discussions.
So let's get to the defeat of ISIS. Must that happen before any diplomatic resolution could happen over Bashar al-Assad? How long, how many more lives might that take?
Well, I mean, I think that that's exactly the point. First of all, it was nice to hear the Secretary of State speak. I think that was probably the first time he did. But again, what is the strategy for defeating ISIS, and where are we talking about? Are we talking about Syria, Iraq? What is the overall strategy? The problem is that this administration really has not articulated much. Remember, just a few days before the president was moved to send the message to Syria, just a few days before that, the message coming out of the administration was, we're not going to do this, that we're not going to deal with Assad. And so, you know, you can't go back and forth. I understand that his overall approach in life and in business has been to be flippant, to be spontaneous, to be quote-unquote flexible. You cannot do this in the international arena. There is a world that now he is one of the key leaders of.
But we had the president arguing that the strikes in Syria, they were in the national and foreign policy interest of the United States, going beyond just the moral argument here. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. Again, it's hard for me to agree to anything when 48, 72 hours before you said something that is completely the opposite. And then you are so moved by the attack on the children, the same children that you say cannot come to the United States to escape the person you just attacked. It is hypocritical. It is disjointed. It's flippant. You cannot be flippant on the world stage.
I want to get to Korea now. As President Obama was leaving office, it was reported that he told President Trump North Korea would be his biggest foreign policy and maybe national security challenge. Now you've got the USS Carl Vinson, the carrier and strike group. It's headed to the Korean Peninsula. What are your fears as you see all this unfolding?
Well, I'm scared to death, frankly, because I think when we're dealing in the situation in North Korea, you know, North Korea could essentially wipe out Seoul with their missiles that they could reach right now today. And so we cannot play around with North Korea. So I'm worried that I think that you have a person who's in charge up there that, you know, is willing to kill his own brother, is willing to kill his uncle, apparently has killed lots of people around him, and I think he is very erratic and unstable. And so I think we have to be very, very careful. He can't, you know, our president can't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm mad at North Korea, so let me go send a message. I mean, he's even said that maybe we need to reinforce South Korea with nuclear weapons. And so I think, again, you can't just have one-offs in foreign policy. How are you going to approach the world? On the good side, though, at least the president is recognizing that we cannot be an isolationist government. His America First policy has now reached a point where I think he is realizing he can't just sit in Mar-a-Lago, play golf on the weekends, do his job 5 days a week, and then say, when I get mad, I'm going to go send a message to the world.
From Los Angeles, Democratic Congressman Karen Bass. Karen Bass, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's go back to the break.